following the video then,
Mm-hmm.
we'll start with a positive. Tell me what you saw.
Okay, so went from the start, everyone ready, high expectations of learning behaviours, obviously following the STAR learning behaviour expectations. And that included sometimes, I think I could improve on this, but I'll come to that later, but it included some non-verbal clues constantly, because you've got your peripheral, sort of Seraphina, Sam, who needed to be drawn in quite a lot through the lesson. And then we went from the point, didn't we, where we were just looking at the questions. So I put to make sure that sort of everybody could be involved. So everybody, obviously they didn't have any understanding of the vocabulary of the questions, so everybody needed it. So we unpicked that. So I put that was a really good way to start. Again, drawing children in. Then I repeated the questions. So there's lots of repetition, because with it being new vocabulary, I felt like I expected more, to be honest. I expected more to know about perseverance, because we talk a lot about it in school, don't we? So because it was so low, I feel like I did labour the question a little bit and kept rephrasing it in multiple ways, using their sort of partial definition that they contributed, and using obviously some adult language to sort of link it in and model it a little bit more. Because obviously when I found out they didn't understand perseverance, I was a little bit like, well, this might not go very well, do you know what I mean, unless we do. So I think I did labour it. I don't know if you'll think it was too much, but that was the reason behind it. I use when I say go a lot more. I find that that's become quite common throughout the classes that I teach now. Like, it hasn't taken long for it to become practice. It's really weird, isn't it? Because at first I was like, oh, I've forgotten to say when I say go, and now I can't stop saying, I've not said go when I say go. Yeah, so it's become like culture for me now. That's just like part of my routine with any class that I go in, and it's surprising how quick they pick up on it, isn't it? So, and some of them still push it a little bit more than others, but high expectations. Again, I've put the expectation because somebody started to move, because they were already starting to want to go to everyone writes, aren't they? Use the timer for everyone writes, so the 3-minute timer. I find it hard because in this class, have you not got a separate timer? Yeah, because you can't sort of put it on the board, can you, when it's a PowerPoint presentation? So it was on my watch, but I give them like, I don't know if we watched it on the video, but like when we were halfway, I was like, we're halfway, we've got 30 minutes left, so 30 seconds left, so give them little reminders. Right. I felt like I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but prepare them for the next step. So knowing the sequence that we're going through, I think helps them to know that they're going to be turning and partner talking next, because it stops them from talking in this section. So I prepared them for that, prepared them for the next step. And obviously the turn and talk expectation was quite explicit. It's not knowing, I don't do this a lot with your class, so obviously some classes you could just say to, I wasn't sure, sort of, oh, do they know both share, you know what I mean? I didn't know, so it was perhaps a bit more explicit than I needed to be. Wandered around, when I was wandering around, I was sort of, going back a little bit here, aren't I? Sorry. When I was wandering around, when they were doing the turn and talk, and when they were doing the everyone writes, I was making my notes, so I was checking in, making notes so that I could build on the conversation. So who's got I don't want to say a basic answer because it's still a good retrieval answer, but who's perhaps inferred a little bit more, and you know what I mean? So it was good because I checked on Sam, because he wasn't going without the nudge, because he's used to having Tracy with the nudge, isn't he? He knew what he was doing, he just needed come on, you've got to get on with it. And then like I said to you before, that we've got Bella, who, high achiever, could achieve more, got the basic answer, she will sit there and do nothing for the rest of the time, or if you let her, so just give her a little bit of a nudge to delve a little bit deeper into the text, and she did. So I felt that was quite good. And then I don't know about the ABC, because I've not seen too many of them. I felt like it went okay, because the children led it, and I sort of went with it. I'd got my notes, obviously with me on what I'd pulled out of the text last night, just in case it needed the nudge, but I didn't feel like it really needed the nudge. I felt like the children did it themselves, and I sort of narrated it.
How did you get kind of the children to lead it as much as you did? So what had you done beforehand to make that happen?
Used my notes, is that what you mean? So I've got my notes, I already knew where I was, not who I was going to, because that's drawn out by the children, isn't it? But I already knew. I know that they've got a really good idea, and they've got this, and I knew that Ella she'd actually added, I don't know if you could hear as well, because she's quite quiet, she'd actually added she must have persevered, because in the end she won loads of awards, and she added that little bit, so I knew she got a bit extra over there this time. So it's pulling them out so you can pull out the 100% answer, isn't it? I did model it again at the end as well, sort of said, well, that's fantastic. But then, I don't know if this was the right thing to do, but what I did was, at the end that you might not have watched on the video, is I sort of said something to add. I built on the answer a little bit to model to them a little bit, because within that lesson nobody had drawn out that she was successful worldwide, and we know that because there were 75 languages. So I said, even though nobody brought this out today, I'd like to build on your answer and add that, and I added that. And then I added in an extra challenge question, what was the reward for perseverance at the end, just to sort of round up the lesson really. So that was it.
Shows what like really effective intellectual prep does
And
for the lesson. Because
yeah.
like you say, if you'd have not had this in advance, would you have had as secure an answer?
Yeah.
If the children had only picked up the 3 points and not the 4th one,
Yeah.
you would have found as well. So that, no, it's incredible.
Yeah, I'm always ready to go. If I've got it and with enough notice, I like to be ready to go, you know what I mean? And they did pick that out. Give them a little bit of time, have a little scan, and then Myra picked out the rewards for perseverance, and then we just, linked it into normal life, because it's still a brilliant example, isn't it? So, yeah, that was it.
I think that's a really good summation.
Yeah. Okay.
The way you used assessment, kind of even just straight at the beginning with, oh my goodness, there's one hand up for the word persevere,
Yeah.
and we need to do some teaching here.
Yeah.
You assessed every step at the point of learning, and then you've done your intellectual prep, so you knew from what you've been around and seen, you knew where it was going, you knew what you were going to have to gap fill. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh, that's good. Thank you, James.
And that is a happy one for me
That's
as well,
very best,
because
isn't it?
that's the best one you've done of like really giving me everything of
Yeah.
all the positives you do in the lesson.
I think I find it easier I didn't like the idea of filming it, but I think I find it easier watching it back, because we have busy days, don't we?
Yeah.
And sometimes I sit with you and I go, I can't remember.
Because you've taught 4
Yeah,
lessons
because
since
you've
that
done
lesson.
loads, and I'm like, which children was I with? It feels like a long time ago, so actually seeing it immediately back is really useful. Like, I'd be happy to do that again, even though I hated it this morning. I would be happy to do that again, because this is a really good process, isn't it?
Yeah, it does help, and it's really effective.
Mm.
And as well, just drawing it back to, love the fact that you, again today, weren't phased that I walked in the room and you even were like, I'm just about to be dead impressed with this. And acknowledge I was in
Getting
the room.
better.
Honestly, ever so impressed. Right then, if there was one thing that you could pick out then, that you think we could work on or we could change, what would it be?
Well, again, I always worry here, because I think this might not be the thing that James spots, but I think sometimes the flow of my speech, and I knew it this morning, is interrupted by drawing children in. I want to stop myself from saying, not Sadiana, we're in the wrong class now, Saravina eyes this way, and try and use more non-verbal cues. I've almost got to shut my mouth and just stop doing it, because I'm interrupting the flow of what I'm saying, and then the kids are going, Saravina's not doing that, and so I know I need to stop doing it, and I know why I do it. I do it because my expectations are so high, and sometimes they're not looking at you, and I want them in that moment, and sometimes you've got to bide your time and draw them in when they're looking, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? So that you're not interrupting the flow of teaching. But I feel like that's the one thing when I watch it back that makes me cringe a little bit, because I'm like, oh, I stopped there and said that.
It's not cringe, and it's definitely not a bad thing, because equally a lot of the things that you were saying were reinforcing what you'd kind of you'd wanted them to know and understand. The thing that I probably think, I'm genuinely very impressed you picked it out actually, because it was something that I don't think most people would pick up on. But I think it's more the fact that you probably work a little bit harder than the children do.
Okay,
So
yeah.
it's how we can then actually put that back on the children
Okay.
and get the children to work that bit harder.
Yeah, okay.
Because where you'd kind of done, it would have been a really nice opportunity at that point where you've gone, so what, so perseverance, this is what it means, this is how you're going to answer the question. It would have been a really nice way to have kind of thought about, okay, how can I ask this question so that the children give me the answer? So it's almost like a formal response to go, right, who's still got this, who am I going to need to target?
Yeah.
Because I know they're still not quite understood perseverance.
And I'm still nervous with that, because on the spot, like when I've observed you, you've got that lovely confidence to do that and rephrase something in different ways on the spot. I still feel like that's ongoing for me. Like when I did it in Rich's class, I've still got my script and I'm still practicing it, I'm still overthinking it. It's not become as natural as some other things yet, but yeah, I know what you mean.
I've been doing that for 2, 3, probably more to be honest.
Yeah.
Before I was kind of putting it as a codified approach as such.
Yeah.
It's something I've always done, but I always, like I say to Sam, I'm a bit of a lazy teacher because I almost rely on the fact I've taught year 4 for a long time, I know the year 4 content,
Yeah.
so I have got to kind of put as much on a whiteboard because I know that anything comes up, I can kind of just draw something, if that makes sense.
As you go,
But that comes
yeah.
from practice.
Yeah.
So I really like that as an idea for what we can work on for next week, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Just to kind of how, when you're in that situation of, am I 100% certain whether they've understood me, and what can I do? Because the assessment, honestly, that video, the assessment in that lesson was beautiful.
Was it?
Like the way in which you worked the children, there wasn't a child in that room who didn't know how well they'd done.
Yeah.
And you kept adapting your lesson on the spot, so you were using that kind of in the moment assessment to go, "Ooh, this isn't quite what I need, let's do this."
Yeah.
So I think that'd be a really nice thing.
Okay.
If that's okay
Yeah,
with you.
no, I completely, yeah, that's
So,
good.
right, what we'll do then is we'll come up with a bit of a script. Now, obviously, again, really, really difficult with the fact that we don't know what lesson you're going to be teaching or what lesson it's going to be, which year group. So we'll kind of very much put ourselves in a bit of a situation, but one where it could be many of an answer.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll kind of put ourselves in the spot of, you've been doing reading for most lessons I've been able to come and see. You've done a bit of maths, haven't you? What would you prefer me to come and see next week for year 3?
For year 3, I don't mind really. Either. I'll say either.
Okay.
Really genuinely
Let's
don't
go
mind.
reading because it's
More
quite
likely to come up,
broad,
isn't it? Yeah.
broad concept as well. So
Yeah.
where they might have a misconception, it might be really easy just to amend. So we'll put ourselves in a situation that you're explaining something at the beginning of the lesson, and let's say they are doing retrieval in a text, and you just want to make sure that they're fully understood. So even we could rewrite today's lesson,
Okay.
but then write it in a way that it could be applied to many lessons.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I'll put a note at the top, just identified lack of security in knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we might say, for example, the children aren't quite sure where to find the answer for a retrieval question.
Okay.
Okay, so what if they weren't able to find the answer? What would you want them to do?
If they couldn't find the answer to a straightforward retrieval question, I'd want them to go back to the text and skim and scan. I would do that.
Okay.
I'd probably model it first, a little bit of modelling of skimming and scamming. So looking at the question, pulling out key vocabulary. What's going to help us
Where key vocab
from the question?
I love the fact you're now actually used to my way of
I know.
well. It's really not panicked anymore.
No,
like,
I'm panicked.
I know what he's doing. He's trying to get me to say the answer. So, they're struggling with finding an answer in a text.
Okay.
And that's what you've noticed. So you're going to stop the children and you'll say, okay, when trying to find an answer within the text, you need to find keywords within the question. Now I'm going to push you at this, Jack, because you are very good at codified approaches. So what I'm going to try and do is, even though we're focusing on that 3-point retrieval and kind of different ways of posing a question to find out what the children know, what would be a good thing for them to do here? So we're trying to find an answer within the question. You've got the question up on the board.
Yeah.
You need to find the keywords within the question.
Yeah.
What would be a good mode to use?
From the
codified
those.
approaches. What could they do?
They could. Well, I think if I was asking them, turn and talk. Yeah, turn and talk. I was going to say, stop and jot. The trouble is with turn and talk, I do love it. Sometimes you get the ones that need a nudge, so I do love a stop and jot because they've only got to write the word down. So if the whiteboards were immediately on the table, I might say, I want you to write down the keywords because then I can check that they've done what I've asked them to do.
So we're now going to do a stop and jot.
Yeah.
I like that. So 3, So we're going to anticipate that. Obviously, year 3 know your expectations now. You probably wouldn't even need to lead in with when I say go, they just know you're going to say complete your go. Okay, so they're writing, you're going to check in, and then how are you going to draw that information out from them?
I'd probably cold call that because they've got them on their board, haven't they?
So child A. Word, let me try to find the text. Passion.
Yeah, bit anything, isn't it?
Okay. Child B. In fact, what I'm going to do, for a safe bet, I'm just going to put correct answer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you've got 2 correct answers.
Yeah.
What you might want to do then is look at how that's going to go in kind of 3 different ways. So, when you're then checking to make sure the children know what they're looking for, we can then put it back as, so what was the first word we were looking for? And then hand to ear for core response.
Yeah.
So you've got everybody joining in.
Yeah.
What could you then do to, so they've given you the word,
Yeah.
what could you then do to pose that question in a different way to check understanding? Think about what you did with the word that they weren't sure with today.
You don't always know what you're doing, do you? You just do it, don't you? This is really unpicks it, doesn't it? So what did I do with the word today?
So they said perseverance.
Yeah.
They weren't quite sure with it. So
No.
what did you then want from them?
I don't know, a little bit more of that.
So what did you want to know from them? So you've told them the word.
Yeah.
What do you want to know back from?
I want to know the definition that we've just come to the conclusion of together with a little bit of help from Jack, didn't we? So yeah, I want the definition back.
So then what you could do is then give them the definition, ask
And
them
they give
what it
it
means. So what does it mean if we are
whatever the word is.
which then poses that question in another way.
Yeah, okay. So a bit like, you know, at the start of your lesson, that sort of skill, is that what you're referring to with your vocabulary, where I pick the 3 but you're giving them the other way around? So that it's that kind of skill, isn't it? Rephrasing.
Rephrasing in a different way.
I overthink them. I don't know why I overthink them, you know, but I really overthink them. It's because I've seen you do it so naturally, and I'm like, right, I'm going to overthink this. Because actually,
It's called winging and prayer.
yeah, no, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So rephrase it so they're giving me the definition. Yeah.
And then you could so say the word was passion. So so the word we're looking for today was passion.
Yeah.
So what does it mean if you are really enthusiastic about your work? You are passionate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you might do the same with child B. So it's just almost core responses to double check they've understood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, for example, child A there, so if they've given the word passion, another one might say that, so like a rephrased word of passion, so they're enthusiastic.
Yeah.
So they might give a kind of paraphrase.
Okay.
And then that would then lead you in quite nicely to those 3.
Yeah.
Yeah? Happy with that?
Yeah.
So it's almost just how can you question the children? So it's not even, it doesn't even necessarily have to be in 3 different ways. It's how can you question to check that they're fully understood? Because I felt like you were kind of trying to tell them.
Wasn't getting
But it'd been a really
understanding.
nice opportunity for them to tell you back.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Almost like I was sort of picked up on it and like, I think sometimes I panic for time a little bit as well. But obviously they couldn't progress without that, could they?
No.
So I should have just slowed it down and checked in with them.
Equally, that could have been an absolute car crash if you hadn't done that in the first
Yeah.
place, couldn't it? Because then they wouldn't have even got the question, got anything from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. No, I completely understand. I'm not that confident with doing this, but I will.
No,
You know what I'll do
yeah.
is I'll practice in between lots as well.
I know,
Yeah.
and this is kind of, you know, yours is so hard because we don't know the content of
I
the lesson until
know.
next week, you don't know what
Yeah.
year it's going to be, so it's really difficult. So what I'll do I'll model first, and we'll do it off today's lesson. We'll do it with the word perseverance.
Okay, yeah.
Just so that kind of we've got that base and we know what it is.
Yeah, that's good. That's better to
'cause
relate
it
to.
helps us to
I
kind
find
of
it
relate
hard
to.
when it's abstract because I don't know what I'm teaching.
Yeah, and it's
But
really
maybe
hard
I
to
could
write
record a little bit more next week because there might be like an incidental one that I go, oh James, this has happened and we can watch it. That might work better.
What we'll do when I come in and watch next week,
Yeah.
we'll set up. I'll stay in for the normal time, so it's just like a 5-10 minute I'm with you, and then we'll leave it running. And then what we'll do is you can watch it back, and then I can watch it too, and then maybe even so it wouldn't be necessarily that we're going to meet the day of then.
Yeah,
We'll come
yeah.
on the Monday and we go, right, okay, we've watched this, we've both seen these bits, can I just show you this bit from what I've seen?
Yeah.
And we go,
Yeah, okay then.
Yeah. So, take it on its feet then.
Okay.
So, we're in our lesson, we just asked the children, okay, what does the word perseverance mean? Okay, so I've got one hand up, can't see anybody else with an answer, so I know we're not quite secure with the word perseverance. So if you persevere with something, it means you carry on no matter how hard it is, no matter how many times you fail, you carry on doing that thing, you are persevering. So with our Aspire values, it links to resilience. So how can you, and our huge goals, bounce back ability, how do you carry on even when you get something wrong? Okay? So just to remind you, that definition is that you carry on even though you might fail and something's very difficult. So what was the word that we were looking for today? Super, perseverance. If I am failing lots of times at something and I want to carry on, I will, brilliant, persevere. If I have not been successful and I'm finding something really difficult, but I carry on doing it, then I have amazing. So the word that we're looking for today is fantastic.
Okay. You make it look that simple, yeah. But it actually could have just done
That could have been a lot more succinct in the way you think, because obviously I was flicking between thinking about huge goals and that wasn't necessary for the learning. So there's like loads of little bits that could have been better. It wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
But it's just that kind of how can I put it in 3 or 4 different ways.
Turn it around, yeah. So they understand.
Come and have a go.
Okay. Right. Here you go.
It's a bit, at least today, it's not in an office and it's actually in a classroom.
Yeah.
It's a bit more kind of like.
Yeah, okay. Right, so we're starting, so we've come across the word perseverance today, children, in our question. So what does it mean to persevere if we persevere at something? Okay, you can just see that Jack's got his hand up and we're a little bit unsure of that, so I'm going to help you with it a little bit. So if we're persevering at something year 4, then it means that we stick at it a little bit, we have to put in effort, even if something along the way is a little bit challenging and things might go wrong. Okay, so sometimes things might go wrong and we might have to stick at it when we're trying to do something, and that means that we are persevering. Is that right? Yeah, okay. So sometimes then, and I don't know how to turn it around now, I'm always good at doing it once and then the next time I'm not so good at
So,
it.
you gave the definition, you asked what perseverance.
Yeah.
So you could say, so you picked on 2 bits there and you kind of went on, if you stick at something and if you carry on trying really hard, so you could almost split apart your definition and then make it back 2. So you could say, so if you carry on sticking at something, even if it's hard, you have.
Okay, so then I found something really challenging year 4 and I'm going to stick at it, I'm going to carry on regardless. That shows that I have persevered, they'll say, won't they? Okay, is that okay?
And then just recap at the end.
Recap at the
word
end.
that we've looked at today is?
So the word that we've looked at today is perseverance. So we're going to look at how J.K. Rowling used perseverance, how she stuck at it. Go, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, because they've come back with it. Okay.
But it's giving the children
The bounce
to
back
do,
and forth.
to do a bit more work involved in the lessons.
Yeah.
So almost working as hard as you.
Well, they might have switched off, might they, as well? They might be like, wow, she keeps saying the same thing over and over again, we're just ready to write. So that's much better, isn't it? Wish I'd have done that now, James. I'm gutted, but
Hindsight's a beautiful thing.
I know,
Moments
it's
are
one of those
reforming.
things, isn't it?
It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Honestly, Jen, really, really lovely lesson.
Okay.
Then you should be very proud.
Yeah. Come a long way from me. Good morning, Mr. Brown. On time. Say hello when you walk in the room. Oh dear. It'll just be knowing when that